Nikesh, maybe you want to address the students when we'll start.
Hello guys, we'll be starting very soon. Let's just wait for 3 or 4 minutes so that everyone else can join. So without further delay, let's start with this webinar. Good evening guys, I am Jankar Savalia and I will be your host for the day. We are SICE, which is short for Student Initiative for Career Enhancement. We would be telling about how you can make yourself more appointable, how you can ease up the placement process for your colleges as well as jobs. So the procedure for this lecture would be in three segments. First one would be resume building. Second one would be group discussion, and third one would be the personal interview. Now, I would like to call Anikesh Jaiswal to tell us about psych.
First of all, really good evening, everyone. I really appreciate that I have taken time out for our webinar, and I'm assuring you this is going to be a great learning journey for you. So, my name is Enhancement. I'm founder of SICE, Student Initiative for Career Enhancement. Let me tell you what we are. We are a student community. We believe that every student have some special capability, and instead of looking for help from the third party, why not we students come together and help each other? We all know that we have a few friends who are good in interview skills. There are some friends who are good in their GD part. There are some friends who are good in particular subject. Why not we connect? Why not every student connect with one another and help another? This is our mission. So, and second thing, we started this initiative, this webinar, taking that we all know that COVID has affected job market pretty hard, and in a realistic manner. We aren't going to expect the same number of offers in a normal time. So we can't do much on the job market. But one thing we can do for sure, we improve ourselves. We prepare ourselves for the best as much possible. And taking that as a part, we are organizing this placement discussion webinar. I love to invite Jankar. Jankar is alum of IIT, and he is doing his master's from IIT Delhi, and he is well-known figure in our college for his innovative skills. Jankar, stage is all yours.
Thank you, Anikesh, for your lovely introduction. Now, next, I would like to call Tad Talk Kamdir and Rishabh Jain to tell us more about resume building. Tad had his summer internship at Netway India in digital marketing, while Rishabh was a testing engineer in Info Edge India for 13 months and recently did his internship in Fujitsu Consulting India in the operations program. Over to you, Tad.
Rishabh,
Yeah,
could
sure.
you introduce?
So, before we directly jump into the resume building, why don't we understand what is the placement process? So, maybe when where like where you can encounter the process of building resumes, of maybe tackling a GD or maybe tackling an interview. It can be either when you're getting an admission into an MBA college. It can be your corporate interview to getting a job. It can be any occasion like anyone wants to judge you. So the first and foremost thing that creates an impression to the judge is the resume, because it is the first thing that actually interacts with the like actually acts as an interface between the student and the recruiter or the say faculty. Like, can I get the next slide, please? So let's discuss its importance. So Tad, maybe you want to discuss the importance about.
Uh, Thanks, Rishabh. First of all, good evening to everyone. I have bad net, so I can't show my face right now. But going through these points, so why is it important to have a great resume? First of all, it is the first point of contact for the recruiters. Now, an HR of a company, after having seen thousands of CVs, can easily distinguish a well thought out resume from one which has actual value from one which has just been put together. Um, Other than that, the next point, yeah, it is crucial for getting shortlisted. And this is especially relevant if you're going through a college process like from B school or an engineering school. And there are certain things such as the ATS and such, which we'll discuss later, uh, which will tell how important it is to have a great resume. And last but certainly not the least, a great resume makes for a great talking point during interviews. Now, if you do get shortlisted, uh, you can always steer the interviews in your favor. And the content that you put in your resume becomes a point of discussion during your interview. Um,
Yeah,
Can you go to the next
completely
slide,
agree
please?
with you. Completely agree. Like when a recruiter sees your resume, like the first thing he's going to ask about you is like, have you really done that? What you've mentioned. So he's really
Exactly, Rishabh.
going
Yeah.
to dig deeper. Yeah, right. So yeah, can I get the next slide, please? So before we prepare a CV, why don't we understand like who is reviewing it? So is it a human? So maybe like if it is a human, then you can actually change the format so that the human understands it. But what if it is a bot? So if it is a bot, so the bot is generally like judging your resume in these particular times when the thousands or say lakhs of candidates are applying for a particular job. That bot is called application tracking system. So if it is a bot, then you need to make your CV which is easily understandable by that bot, right? It should be compliant to that bot's policy, or the bot should be easily able to understand what you've written. What is the format of a CV that completely matters here, right? Yeah, can I get any slides? Yeah.
Um,
Maybe, yeah.
so, all right, yeah, Rishabh, I'll take over from this part. So three things to keep in mind while building a resume. So there are many points which you can actually think of, but for the sake of this webinar, these three things are of immense importance. So, first part being the keywords. Now, taking forward the role of an ATS, which we discussed in the previous slide, it plays and the role that it plays during a recruitment process. You have to understand that an ATS will look for certain keywords. Now, if an ATS does not hit those keywords, you may not get shortlisted, no matter how good your resume is. And when it does look for the certain keywords or buzzwords, and they try to check whether you are the right fit for the role, for the job description, or the company itself. It is almost as if you have to perform an SEO, which is search engine optimization, of your own CV, such that the ATS or the HR can actually find those keywords in order for you to get shortlisted or recruited. The second point being the format. Now, moving on to the format of a resume, there are some very obvious but critical points to keep in mind while building a format. So, obviously, your resume should be well aligned. Now, not only does this show your precocious nature or your attention to detail, but it also allows the ATS to actually look through your resume properly. Uh, Keeping in mind the keywords, now you actually want them to get noticed. So, you can keep certain keywords in bold so that a recruiter may see them first, and it can also become a point of discussion during an interview. And lastly, obviously, it should have a clean format. It should not have random characters here and there, or say a logo here and there. And lastly, uh, for it to be ATS compliant, the format of the doc of the format of the file, your resume should be in doc format. Now it varies from software to software, from company to company, but to be on the safe side, you should keep it in doc format. Content, Rishabh.
Right. So how do you choose the content? Like we have made your format, you have decided the keywords, you filtered out what you need to enter. So you have say multiple types of certifications and all, right? So do you need to include them all, or do you need to filter out the ones which are important? Because say as Tad mentioned that there should not be any content vomitage. So maybe you're mentioning the points which are not important to recruiter. Are they of any use? No. So you need to filter out which is really important, like which is not easy to get. Because suppose I am including the certification, like I'm certified in this by Udemy or certified in this by this. So does it really make sense? Every can get it, right? Everyone can get it. Just include those which are not easy to get, not everyone has it. So it is kind of unique, right? And second, which is a more important part, like the interviewer has your CV, right? So he's going to ask you about your CV points in the interview. So you should have the ability to storytell about what you have written. Like suppose you have written about some skill which is say I am passionate. So do you have a story to form about it? Like in which occasions have I proved to be passionate, right? So you should be able to storytell, and you should be able to like tell the story in the confident way. If you are stammering or you're doing something else, like maybe you are not like speaking the truth, maybe it is a lie. So recruiter will actually
And
like get it right. And last but not least, when you're showing the content, like you're choosing your content to actually include in your CV, how do you show impact? Like that content you have mentioned that actually has an impact. How do you do that? Because it's really important to show the impact, right? Can I get the next slide? Yeah. So keeping like continuing with the showing impact, how do you show impact? As we all know, the data is the new oil, and it really is. Like trust me, it really is. Say, for example, consider a statement winner of XYZ competition. When I write this statement in my resume, so what is the first question that comes to your mind, or maybe what is the question that may come to the recruiter's mind? So, how many competitors were there? Were you walking alone? Were you racing alone? Or were there like 500? Or what was it national level? What is international level? What is the competition all about? What is it related to marketing, related to finance? I don't know anything, right? It's not really like it's not certain that the recruiter might know that the XYZ competition is about this. So, hello.
go ahead, Rishabh. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So you have to be really specific. You have to like mention what is all this competition is about. So consider the second sentence now. Winner of XYZ competition based on market research among 500 participants from B schools across the nation. So do I get the answers to all the questions that I mentioned? Yes. So that shows the impact. That shows the your argument backed by data. Right. So can I get the next slide, please? If that maybe you want to discuss this. Oh,
Um, you take this one, right? I'll
okay,
take the
sure,
next one.
sure. So we collected resumes from our audience. So we have changed the name and all for the privacy concerns. So the first part of the resume, like we've cropped this and we'll like tell you what is wrong in this and what is right in this. So like think about it, like or maybe drop in the comments. Do you feel that the resume is well aligned? Say yes or no. Let's take 5 seconds. So yeah, I think it's well aligned. But do you see that the year, where I mentioned the year, doesn't have too much gap between the year and the degree? Because, and the gap is very low between the year and your institute. That's not the uniformity, right? You haven't given time to small details. Like moral, like it's
Yeah.
clean, like it's not loaded with data. I completely agree. But that small points actually matters for the big organizations, right? So let's read through the work experience. So if I talk about the achievements here, so it is mentioned that I am the winner of Bullet Award for H1FY 2019. The same point, like as I like mentioned in the previous slide, like data is the new oil. You have made an argument that you were the winner of Bullet Award, but what is the Bullet Award about? What is the level of the award? What is H1FY 2019? I don't know the coding, right? So how could it have been better? It could have been like I was the winner of Top Employee Award because my Top Employee Award in my organization is known as the Bullet Award. So I was the winner of Top Employee Award for first half of financial year 2018 among all the developers working in MNC Noida. Now I get the complete picture. So this was the level, and this is really, really a substantial achievement. And this shows your impact, right? So this is how we can do it. Like award is spot award for this particular project. What I have done here in the second achievement, I mentioned the project also. You can actually modify your data to be more impactful in this way and make the necessary things bold and not too much bold.
I'll take this, Rishabh.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay, yeah. So you can see that this person has mentioned multiple courses from online course providers such as Coursera, Udemy, etc. Now we have to try and see how valuable these courses are in themselves and whether they should be mentioned here. Talking about content, so in this case, it's a certified in marketing analytics course from University of Virginia offered through Coursera. Now, this is a valid point, but if you are mentioning Coursera again and again, maybe we can mention the courses together and then from Coursera, right? Other than that, you can see that there are some keywords missing for this point, which you have written, I guess is the one, the seventh point, I think, the develop deployment dashboard using Node.js. Now, it's missing some keywords. It does not tell what what did it actually deploy or what using Node.js actually accomplished. He could have written develop or deployed the dashboard using Node.js, and this decrease the downtime or increase sales, yada yada yada. A certain sort of measurable achievement, measurable content. Other than that, you can see that he has written worked with ASD Limited under trainings and certification. This could have come under work experience before. And here again, certifications, under certifications, he has written languages, English and Hindi. Mentioning language is a great thing, but this again should be mentioned beforehand. So other than that, if I look through this, he has mentioned his CAT percentile as a achievement. Now, especially if you go to a good college, if you don't have a really high CAT percentile, it is not worth mentioning. Other than that, there are a few points which you can't see, I think, at the moment. Uh, so he has written secured second rank in city in second international English Olympiad. Now this is an example of a well written point. He has written at what level he has won the activity, the extracurricular activity, and what it was. Now, if you look through his points, all of his achievements and certificates uh, are from previous years, but this the secured second rank is from 2012. So maybe it's too old now at this point, but the formatting is correct, and if he or she could have written it, done this maybe at a much later stage in last year or something, it could have been a real talking point during interview. Um, Rishabh, would you like to add anything? Rishabh?
Yeah.
Uh,
Hello.
okay. Yeah, would you like to add anything here?
No, they're really pretty covered and everything. So I'd like to invite some questions if the users have, so that we can ask.
Okay, yeah,
They can ask. Yeah, sure.
sure. Okay. Please post your questions in the comments. We'll try to address them at the end if time permits. Thank you. Zankar, over to you.
Yes. Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Rishabh, um, for explaining about the resume building process. Next, I would like to call Tuhin Sen and Manjit Shekhawat to explain and tell us more about the group discussions. Now, Tuhin here worked for Byju's for 1 year in business development and recently completed his internship at Medtronic in marketing strategy. While Manjit Shekhawat was involved with Standard Chartered Bank for 2 years and he did his internship in ProCube Consulting in oil and gas sector. Over to you, Tuhin.
Okay, hey, thanks Ankar for the introduction. So, the topic that we'll be actually looking into is called group discussion. Now, this is one that most of the candidates, it's in extremes. Either a candidate is really confident about it, and it's a group discussion, I can easily crack it. Or the candidate is really nervous. What will happen to me in this group discussion? Will I be able to speak enough? How do I go about it? So there's no middle ground in terms of my experience that a candidate actually experiences when a group discussion comes up. So what we'll be doing right now is we'll be discussing what the group discussion is all about, what it is not, what you should do in a group discussion, and what you should not. So is it a group debate? No, it's a group discussion. I think you can see this picture that is attached over here. People are collaborating and they are getting all this piece, they're piecing all their puzzles of the pieces of the puzzle together to come to a common point. It's a group discussion. You come to a common conclusion. So what? How is it different from a group debate, or how is a group discussion different from a debate? Well, a group discussion is convergent, as I said a few seconds back. People will try to converge to a single point that, okay, this is our final discussion, this is our final outcome. Whereas a debate is all about, okay, my point, if I'm saying this is black, the other person is going to say, no, this is not black, this is white. They are divergent from the beginning itself. And that's how it is pretty different from a group discussion. Competitive versus cooperative. Debates really get very competitive, where you are not looking at a collaboration where you are saying, okay, if I'm right over here, this means you're wrong. It's not a win-win game, it's a win-loss game. So if somebody's going to win, someone else has to lose. Whereas in a group discussion, it has to be a win-win game, that everybody gets their points together and tries to win together. And if they cannot, then the whole group loses. Persuasion versus sharing. Now, a debate is all about persuading your counterpart by saying that I'm right, you're wrong. Whereas in a group discussion, you share your viewpoints and you modify your whole way of thinking to come to a common conclusion, which might not be what you wanted, which might not be the same as the idea you first had, but it's a group consensus that happens. And conclusion. Well, in a debate, even though, like we might have seen in news, that people fight it out and time is not permitted and the debate is left midway, but we know that, okay, this guy is saying this and this guy is opposing him or her. Whereas in a group discussion, now time permits, then you can reach a conclusion, but it is not extremely necessary to reach a conclusion. But the path matters. So what are the different types of GD? Well, the first one is topic based and the second one is case based. Topic based is divided into three parts: factual, controversial, and abstract. Factual is basically general awareness, something that is happening all around you, and every Tom, Dick, and Harry is expected to know the same. From the picture that is attached, I hope you can see it. It's a Facebook geo. Facebook geo, I hope you're able to connect the dots about what is happening. If something along the similar lines has happened or not. Controversial usually runs around the points of political or religious. It might be whatever is happening in Rajasthan regarding Sachin Pilot and Ashok Gehlot. That is something that people are going to be really touchy about. Abstract. Now, there's no newspaper that you can read or a website that you can browse to actually have the right answer to this. It's all about how creatively or how differently you think. There's no right answer to this. And the second thing that is actually taught to us in business schools is a case-based type of GD, where a case is given, all the people who are affected by it are given, some data is given, and you need to give your insights, and depending upon your interpretation, people come to a common result or conclusion. So, personas in GD. Who are the people who you will actually meet in a group discussion? First, it's the leader. Usually the leaders actually commence the GD they actually started. They try to stand out from the discussion. They want to be the shepherd of the discussion. They want to guide the discussion in their own way. Sometimes they're protective. They become the news anchors in a debate in a TV that you might see. So these guys or girls are called leaders. Second is discussion hawks. Now these guys love to speak. They have a lot of content that they might have with them in terms of verbosity or loquaciousness, where they can speak a lot. But it depends whether they know the topic or not. So if they know the topic, they're doing really well. But if they do not know the topic and they're just going on, hogging the discussion, it shows the discussion going astray. Third is the nervous guy or girl. Now they are really shy. They are introverted. They do not like to be in a competitive environment where you have to raise your voice to make yourself heard. And it's a conflict of basic upbringing that they have had when they face in a GD. So they try to speak less, but and it might rise from a lack of confidence, be it in the behavior or their content. Their performance usually steers around the leader. If the leader is very nurturing and gives him or her the chance, then they have a shot to actually do well in the GD. Otherwise, they're just paid out. Challenges. Now, these guys try to challenge the status quo. They will usually go against someone who is doing really well in a GD. Be it most of the cases it's the leader. Where if a leader is saying something, the challenger is saying, no, this is not right. This is what I feel. They can be right or wrong, but they play a really important role in the whole discussion. Sometimes it might be uncomfortable, but in an overall sense, it's better for the whole group. Devil's advocate. They do challenge people, like the challengers do, but the devil's advocate has, what can we say, a person who is a devil's advocate will not let someone else complete the point. Their ethicality is gone for a toss. They will stop others from making their point. They'll give their own views, which is against the group. And the level of collaborativeness that a devil's advocate has, it's really less. Protector. Now, these guys or girls actually keep a track of the time. They keep a track of how the group discussion is going, whether it's to the point or is it going astray. And they keep on reminding the group that first we are going astray. We need to modify our part to come back to the original discussion. Observers. Now, these guys, in my personal opinion, are the most dangerous people in the group discussion in a good way. Now, they will never initiate a discussion. They'll sit back, they'll relax, they'll hear everyone's points, and they'll observe what everyone is speaking. And once they have collated their thoughts, they come out with such a killer point that it usually shows that whatever the discussion that was being practiced in the group discussion till now was moot. This guy or girl, whoever has spoken right now at this point, is really relevant. And they take the cherry on the cake, if we might say. And last and the least, the aggressive or the loud person. Now, they will scream their heart off, they'll try to overpower everyone, and it becomes very messy to deal with them. In my experience, the best way to deal with them is to not deal with them. A person who is evaluating a group discussion will see how aggressive that person is, how unwilling they are about listening to others' points. It's already a negative point. It's already a negative point that is targeted for them. So no need to worry about that. Just don't engage them. So how do we go about the GD? First, define the problem. Who all are affected by it? The stakeholders, the people who might be the problem statement that is given, everything that is that is mentioned in the case or anything that needs to be defined. Give facts and reasoning for your statement. Don't just give it out of the air. Give a logic. Even in an abstract one, give a reasoning. Even though there are lack of facts over there, give a reasoning as to why you are saying this. You need to sound logical. Cause analysis. Now you need to figure out that what is actually the reason why this problem has arisen. Be it the Facebook Geo deal or the Rajasthan government. Anything that is there, you need to figure out what is the cause that is the reason why this has actually been given to you. Figure out the solution, the main reason why a GD is conducted, to come to a solution that, okay, to figure out that, okay, what can be the right answer to this problem. Implementation. Okay, we have given a solution, but it can't be a castle in the air. We need to give them a clear road path that, okay, how do we go about implementing it? And evaluate the effect of the solution that we have provided. Now, these first 6 points are going to take, if it's a really cordial GD, it's going to take around 15 minutes tops. But we might know that some GDs are longer than that. So what do we do after evaluating effects? Do we just raise up our hand and say, first we're done? No. Now, during the definition of the problem, we sometimes take assumptions. Okay, for this case, we'll assume this is the case. A repetition after this considers the different assumptions that we might have decided to forego in the initial part of the discussion. So that's all from my part. Over to you, Manjeet.
Thank you, Dhiren. So next we will be discussing like what we should do in the GD. And specifically, we will discuss what the GD is all about, what kind of personas you can just meet for. So now we discuss about like how should we step in GD, and what should be the perfect mindset while we are stepping in GD. So according to me, there are four main ingredients of the right mindset while entering in GD. The first would be to make your mind. It's like when you get your topic, so just get a stance. Like just decide like on which side you are going to speak. You need not to be rigid, but make a mind. Because if you are having a mind, if you have made your mind, then you will be able to give the flow to the ongoing GD and ongoing discussion. The second would be understand the nature of the position you are applying for. Why it is important. Many of the time people do ask what should your behavior in the GD? Like how should we speak? Should we be coordinate or not? Like should we be aggressive? Should we be polite? So it all just sum up to the kind of position you are applying for, kind of like job you are applying for. What is your job description? For example, suppose your job description of your job is something which is where you have to just connect to the client. It is very front line, and it is something where you have to just raise your voice, even in the crowd. You have to convince your client. Then being a bit bold and convincing along with convincing power is really right for the that GD. But if you are applying for some back-end job, where mostly you have to work in a team, so the evaluator or the moderator might be looking for your skills as a team player, like how jolly you are while you are discussing with your teammates, and how you value the different point of views. So it all depends upon the job profile that you are applying for, and it all sums up the organization as well you are applying for. So whatever the job profile is, it all should just mingle along with the values of your organization. There are two organizations, they are really ethical. So whatever you are just doing in your GD, might you are just countering your colleague, or might you are stating your colleague, those should be aligned with the values of your organization. You should be really ethical if you are applying for research company. There are few companies which are very attached to the process. They never pursue the process whatever happens, even if their deadlines got closed or whatever. So while you are just keeping forward your points in the GD, you should make sure that shows that you are very much aligned to the process. You follow the process. On the other side, there are few organizations, specifically startups. Not all, but most of the startups are something they really are result oriented, or I should say goal oriented. So they mostly care about the result, like you should get the task done. So they call it smart work. Even if you are just keeping some process, making it short and getting the task done in a short time, they call it smart work. So if you are just applying for this kind of organization, it would be really better to show these kind of smart skills in the GD. Then my fourth point in the group discussion is you should always have a mindset of conclusion. Like even the being discussed, not necessarily you will always reach on a conclusion, but you should have a mindset of conclusion. Because if you are having a mindset of conclusion, then you will be always able to give the direction to the GD in a positive tone. You will be able to take the GD forward. Even if somebody is trying to digress from the topic of GD, you will be able to bring back the whole flow of the GD. But that is only possible if you are having a mindset on reaching any conclusion. Not necessary to get on a conclusion, but you should always try to reach.
Sorry to disrupt you, Manjeet. Can you please try to speak more slowly? You're not audible here.
Yeah, sure. So now we talk about the common rules that we should follow in the GD. Most of you guys will be aware about it, but it's really better to just go through it once. And there are only few points that you guys will get to know. So my first point is, it looks really simple, but most of the people actually tend to forget it. If you are starting a GD, if you are initiating a GD, then make sure you are creating it. And so the common sentence for the same will be hello everyone. You can start with that, but make sure everything. And the second point is make sure you are entering in a really sufficient point. Even if you are having 3 or 4 points or maybe 5, 6 points in the GD on the regarding topic, but if you just enter in a GD just once and just throw all your point on the table, might be 6, 7 points, you just normally don't speak in the GD after a while, and it's not good. The moderator or the invigilator won't be able to notice you that much. It's really better. You just even if you are having total of 6, 7 points, I guess like generally it happens like during the ongoing discussion you come up with numbers. But even if it's not like that, suppose you are having 6, 7 points, and make sure you are entering 2, 3 times at least and just giving up your giving your points in just slot wise. And so generally in the 15 to 20 minutes, if you entering 2, 3 times are really sufficient, but it depends on GD to GD. And there are 2, 3 GDs which are of might be around 40 minutes or something. So there you can just enter different time, but just make sure there is never silence in the GD. That at that point of time you can speak as much as you want. And there sometimes the situation occurs when it becomes fish market. So what you should do in that sort of situation, then I would suggest never contribute to the game track. Invigilator will see like you are part of the crowd. So never do that. Make sure they contribute the GP, but really in a positive manner. How you can do that? Even in the the fish market, there put 1 point from when the GD reach on threshold. The peak of the GD will reach on threshold. So there you might find some gap of microsecond or few seconds. There you should just follow your point and make sure your points are really logical and you may new direction to the GD. So it would be really nice and that instigator will be able to focus like yeah, you are doing in the direction of it. Now my next point is, and even like one of the guy even asked in the like in the chat, like how should you interact? First thing is make sure when you are interrupting someone before that you are listening to them carefully. Because there might be chances where like someone about to say something and they start with first line and you just listen to the first line without just understanding what he's about to say, his tone and everything, and you just interrupt him right away. It might happen he just asks you please let me know. So that doesn't show a nice impact like impression on the time. You just make sure you have understood and listen to him carefully. And while we are interrupting someone, just if you just directly go and say like okay, if something is not according to you, directly say to your colleague like I don't agree to your thing. It will generally happen to just counter you at that point of time itself. So just make sure you do it in polite, in a smart manner. Maybe you can say, I'm partially agree with you. So for a moment you will stop your point and you can state your points. You can just bring forward your points on the table. So there are like always be polite. And even if there are like if you organization, marry organization, I would say they really respect women. So in the matter of gender, there are few conditions where you should never interrupt your female counterpart. So let them complete. It shows your respect towards that specific gender. My next point is how you should get noticed in GD. The main ingredient and the main key not for that is to just always try to increase the scope of the audience. How you can do that? I'll just state it through 2 examples. One is I'll just say suppose you have got a topic. The topic is women are not good drivers. As like Guru said, there might be controversial topics. So women are not good drivers. So at that point of time, like people might be discussing about the driving skills of women. They might be just bringing about some stats or something. Suppose like what is the percentage of women in the whatever the accidents happen, how the accidents take place. At that point of time, you can just bring on you can give a news scope that it is saying that women has driven the nation. So you have taken the whole GDP in new dimension where everything is talking about the driving skills. Now you have taken like how women are driving the whole economy, how they're driving the whole nation forward. So that's something see that you can get noticed, and that's something contributing to GDP in a positive manner. My second example would be of abstract topic. Suppose you have got a topic of a abstract topic of pink. Now people might be talking about connecting pink in some specific community, might be specific gender, you're talking about color. At that point of time, you can take pink as a problem and not for it. So that shows your creativity, that shows your open mindedness, and that shows like you think out of the box. You just don't constrain yourself into your box. So that's how you contribute really positively in a GD and you take it to a new level. And my last quote in the comments would be like always jot down the important or specifically impactful points that give direction to the GD. Because while your moderator asks about you to summarize the whole GD or whole topic, that time it will really come handy to have noted down the important and impactful. So now we'll be talking about the myths that generally like people
Manjeet,
are.
just 1 minute. Could you just increase your speed? Like, I think you're running out of
So,
time.
Manjit, we are short on time, so can you please be fast with it?
yeah, sure. I'll just make it fast. So now we talk about the six myths here. So our first myth is like people generally just keep your focus while your moderator is noticing you. So never do that. Always focus on the colleagues. And I would say just even forget about the moderator, even he or she is there. Just focus on what you're doing. And the second point is like people think like if they should show dominance in the discussion, that shows their leadership skill. It's not like that. So it should go always according to the like job you're applying for as we have discussed in the previous slide. Go regarding that. The third is like people think they should speak as many times as they get the chance. It should not be that. It's a group discussion. So it's all about like bringing forward your points on the table and along with that just listening to your colleagues. So please follow that. And my next is people just stick to their thoughts or the side or the stance they have taken initially. If you feel during the gym, like the stance you have taken is not right and if you change it, then do change that after listening to the points of your colleagues because it shows agility. Sticking to a wrong side is always gives value. Next unit is people do adhere to the flow of discussion. Even if the discussion is going in the wrong direction, they don't like to interrupt the flow of discussion. Don't do that. If the discussion is going in the wrong direction, you feel that if you can just contribute and you can bring it back to the right direction, do that. It's really good to interrupt the GD at that point. And my last myth is about like when summarizing. It generally happens when the moderator asks you to summarize. People who have not spoken or their key points they are not able to complete. They try to just put forward those points during at the time of summarizing. So never do that. Always talk about the like all the points that has been discussed during the whole GD. Specifically, the points which were really impactful. Those have given the direction to the GD, and those were important points along with your and try now to bring new points from you. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Manjit. Thank you, Tuhin. Please, guys, drop your questions. If you have any question, drop it in the comment box. We'll cater to those questions once we're done with the three segments. Next, I would like to call Kesho Makhija and Deep Tirath. Kesho Makhija, he worked with Global Education Consultancy in the past and he did his summer internship in CII for supply chain consulting. Meanwhile, Deep Tirath was associated with Vedanta Resources for a year in operations role and he did his intern recently in AbbVie for employer branding strategy. Over to you, Deep.
Thank you, Zanka. So, guys, like when we consider interview, it's the crucial part. Like everything at last in your whole hiring process comes at ends at interview. Like, is it the factor which decides whether you are going inside the company or you are getting rejected? So, keeping that in mind, let's change. So let's see, like, what are the things which, like, let's understand what an interview is. So interview is not an exam, that's for sure. Okay, so interview is a conversation which you are having with your potential employer and the employer is having with the potential employee. So it's a two-way communication. It should be kept as that. So I will give you the reasons why we shouldn't consider interview as an exam. Because in the interview, you give the direction to the interview. Like you direct the interview. Because whenever you give an answer, that will be taken as a lead by your interviewer for his next question. So make sure that you you direct the interview into your comfort zone or area of interest. That's really important because that will guarantee you the success in that interview. The second thing is there is no right or wrong answers, guys. Like many people believe that if I say something it might end up being wrong and I might be getting rejected. Trust me, see, if they ask some technical questions, then you have to answer objectively. But when they ask about your experience, when they want to probe about your past and other things, there is no right or wrong answers. It's your perspective, so you can be as subjective you want, because uh, now we should understand that interviewer is not evaluating your answers, but is evaluating you. So you have to be honest and truthful while coming up with an answer. If you don't know any like that particular answer for that particular part, you can just say no and move on. That's the best tactic. The third thing is the attitude really matters. Like it's a the previous point, like you are being evaluated, not your or subjective skills. So ultimately, even if you don't have the necessary skills, it can be learned. But when you don't have the particular attitude for the job, the rest is finished. So that's the importance of an attitude you should have. So you should try start working on your attitude from now and build up your credibility around you, and that will give you an edge over others to land up in that particular role. The final thing is, we should understand that recruiter wants to hire you. He doesn't want to reject you, for sure. He's wasting his time and coming over there, and he's taking this whole process for it's a reason. There's a reason he came over that such long place to have an interview with you. So that means he came here for hiring you. So if you show the skills, necessary skills you have, and if you show that you are capable for taking up that role, there is nothing stopping the interviewer from hiring you. Next slide, please. So now we will go into the important aspect, like how to tackle these interviews. Basically, first I will be discussing about the importance of research and JD decoding. JD in the sense job description. The second thing. So I will be telling you something about the storytelling and how to incorporate that aspect into your interview answers. So that will be the third. And at the last, I will be telling you a few general tips which you can follow while giving an interview. Next slide. So research, guys, we know that like research is really important. Whether you're setting up for an interview or you are applying for some company, you should have a basic idea about the what the company does, what is its culture is like, what kind of products and services they provide. Because then only like you can understand whether you will be a better fit for that company or that for a particular role. Second, so this is the important thing. The JD decoding is the most neglected part by students, if I recall, because many of us doesn't know what the JD like. They just see JD as some document. Yeah. Okay, so let's see what I will explain. Like what is JD first? Okay, so JD is a document which will be floated along with the opportunity. So JD will be having the details of the job and the requirements or the like uh, skills, that's necessary skills needed, and some additional info about the job and the company. Next. So there are 5 things which you might keep in mind while decoding the JD. Okay, you should understand what's required and what's desired. In the sense, there will be set of skills which they will portray it as required, and there will be set of skills they will portray it as desired. So required are those skills which is mandatory for like it's mandatory for working in that particular role. Okay, you need definitely need the skills to work in that role. And desired is set of skills. Even if you don't have it, it's not mandatory that you have it. Even if you don't have it, you can get the job. Okay, so I will give an example on this. If you're applying for an analyst role, the mandatory skills might be you should know programming in R, or you should know the knowledge, you should have the knowledge of Python and all. So these are on mandatory skills. The additional skills may be you should be a better communicator, or you should know how to like you should be creative, that kind of stuff. So it's not mandatory that you have this, but it's better if you have it. So you should have clear understanding between what is mandatory and what is desired. Next. And this is really important. Like, we should analyze the tone and style of JD. So, analyzing the tone and style, why do I do that? This is because the JD will tell you about the nature of the company and its culture. Unless you are not culturally unfit for that company, trust me, it won't work out. So, like the JD will be after have will give some clues about the culture of the company here, like the tone. They might be using some words as frequently. They will use some words as we, or some words as together or teamwork. These kind of words will be, you will be finding it throughout the JD. So this means that they will give more importance to team workers, like team players, or it has an open culture which nourishes innovations. Okay, so this kind of stuff, like it's like they won't directly tell you, but we should inform from the JD tone. And the another thing is, this is not reverse is not true for the JD. See, if the organization has a specific, like what you can say, traditional JD, which is having conservative language or something, maybe that the organization just follows the template. It might not be that the organization is very conservative and had have a like maybe it just follows the rules. Okay, it doesn't mean that organ is not open. So this is one thing we should keep in mind. The third thing is like years of experiences. uh, Many people take this very literally. If you have having an year of 1 year of experience and the job demands two, then you might not apply it. What I say is, you can apply it, because the number of years of experience is just a number. It doesn't really matter unless you have the potential and maturity, like you have the maturity to have that fulfill that responsibility. You can apply for the job. So I will, there is a thumb rule in it. Okay, if they state 2 years of experience, even if you have 1 year of experience, you can apply, like 2 minus 1. So similarly, if it's 3 years of experience, 3 minus 1. If you have 2 years experience, you can apply. But given that you should have a like strong experience in that 1 year or that 2 year, and actually you should have the maturity to work on that role. That's really important. The fourth thing, don't focus on the titles. This is what many people do. They just focus on the titles. They lose out on the important aspects, because there are in certain companies, the if you apply for a team leader role, it might be called as manager in some other company. It might be called as coordinator in some other company. So yeah, the position doesn't matter. Like title doesn't matter. Yeah, you should focus on the job responsibility part, because that's the ultimate thing which you are going to do once you join the company. The last one, yes. The now, given the COVID situation, we should assume that the job can be remote. So you should have the specific virtual working skills you should develop. Even if the job description doesn't demand, you should have virtual. You should be able to work virtually, but you should focus on that. You should be able to develop your virtual skills, because at this point of time, it's really important. Okay. So next slide, please. Okay. So now I will tell you, like, there are two ways of answering the questions in interview. One is traditional method, that is Q&A. Like they just ask you a question, you just reply with an answer to the specific to the question. That's traditional method. And another thing is, like, you can weave a story around that answer and tell that story in narrator. Like you will be narrating a story for every question they ask. So actually, next, the Q&A method doesn't work out in interview, guys. Keep that in mind, because just boring. When you just state facts, when you just say yes or no to the every question, it doesn't ignite interest. Okay, you should focus more on the storytelling as well, because that's what will keep people from engaging with you. Okay, so next, so storytelling is really important. So next. So how do we engage?
Deep,
Yeah.
can you be a little fast?
Yeah, sure, Zankar. I will just give me 2 or 3 minutes. I'll just
All right.
wind up.
All right.
Okay, story building. So when it comes to how do we wind a story into our answers, how do we build a story based on answers. Now imagine that you are sitting for an you are asked to explain, like give out your past experience, share your past experience or past situation or something. Then imagine that you are being asked to direct a short film based on your past experience. So what will you do? You will be coming up with a script. You will be thinking that what kind of sequence of actions. You will be coming up with a script. You will be narrating it to a producer, director, anyone. So keep this in mind. So keep a short film kind of thing attitude in your mind. Now let's see how this we can apply this on the interview part. So when it comes to when they ask you to share your past experience, there will be that should have a specific beginning. Like every short film has a specific beginning where we introduce the characters. Like it could be you, and you will it could be some other your teammates. So you should develop a character, like you should tell more about them, what is their nature and all. So the important three important things which we should keep in mind is the character should be relatable, and the character should be able to form a connection with the interviewers, and the character should be realistic. Okay, these three important aspects you should keep in mind while designing your character. In the when you're coming to middle of the story or middle of your experience, you should have a specific goal, because without a goal a story is like incomplete. You should have a specific goal, and you should also tell the kind of obstacles you faced while trying to reach for that goal. So we should make sure that the obstacles have high stakes, like really has an impact on your life if failed, or should have high conflict or drama. I should, so that it actually will make the things more interesting. Okay, so it will show up your skills more clearly than other format. So coming towards the end, like it's your climax of the short film. So what did really happen at the last of the you saw something, you took an action, and there must be a result in that. So resolution is your result. So there can be that can be three types of things. One is success, other can be you might be failed in your attempt, the last thing might be you might have had a change of your attempt. So this thing is important, and along with this thing, once you conclude, you must also state your learnings from this particular situation, because that's what makes you more suitable for the company. Because you should be learning out of your failures, you should be learning out of your success. The learning part should continue everywhere. So that's really important. Then next I will hand over my mic to uh, the sorry, Keshav. So he will tell you, give you example of a story.
Thank you, Deep. Hello, everyone. Now I would be giving you some examples of stories. Am I audible, right?
Yeah, you are audible, Keshav. Keshav, you can continue.
Sorry. Though you can weave better stories using your experiences, this is just to provide you all the gist of how it should be, how the structure should be. For example, you are appearing for a sales role. You would now need to demonstrate ambition and people orientation. So here's an example. This contains beginning. Like when I was team lead for my internship project, this has given a situation, and in the middle there is an action that were taken. I and my team kept giving feedbacks to each other, recorded our performances, and improved upon them. And in the end, there's a result. In the end, we were chosen as the best team among the 12 teams. Uh, next, next, if you get an analytical role, and you would need to show intent for data, relevant experience, and problem solving mindset. So the structure could be in the beginning. There's like, though I have love for analytics, coming from a non-technical background, it became challenging. So you are introducing your love for data, and then there's a challenge that you belong to a non-technical background. Then there comes the action that you enrolled in XYZ courses to get the relevant skills and picked up XYZ live projects to get the hands-on experience. And in the end, now you're showing that you have got all the skills that are required, and now you believe you are fit for the job. So this could be the structure how you can weave stories for yourself. Next slide. Okay, so these are some general tips that you must follow. First is understand the interview's need. We must understand that many times interviewers' core job is not hiring. He just need to take on board a candidate who he thinks has the relevant technical skills, transferable skills, and the attitude which he thinks is fit for his organization. So you not need to understand that through JD decoding and understanding the culture for the company. Next is self-immersion and preparing for the important questions. So you all must have the list of HR questions. Those are being asked in the interviews. If you don't have those, I would request Anikesh to email them to all the participants. So we all need to thoroughly prepare for them. Next, next is structuring your thoughts to show your competencies. Giving structure to your thoughts is of utmost importance. If you are throwing up points without structure, it shows lack of competence and lack of interest, which reduces your chances of selection. Next, as we have already discussed the importance of storytelling, all would have understood by now how important it is for leaving your trace in the mind of the recruiter. Next. So this is one of the most important points. Delivery should be impactful. Delivery is very important. Now you need to show your enthusiasm. You need to show that you are made for the role if you're really interested in the job. Therefore, it is always good to rehearse yourself well in order to make your delivery powerful. Uh, so this was all. Now we are open for questions. Over to Zankar.
Thank you, Kishore. Thank you, Deep. I hope you guys found it useful. Now, I'd like you all to ask as many questions as possible in the comment section. We'll be taking the first question, which is by Vijay. How should we politely disagree other points in GD? Over to you, Deep.
Okay. Good question, Vijay. Thanks for asking. Now, how do we politely disagree? Well, even if the person you are going to disagree with in terms of a point, uh, you need to be very diplomatic. Okay, you cannot just go directly by saying, "Oh no, you're wrong. I'm right," because it's not a GD. It's not a debate. It's a good discussion. So you need to start by first showing that you have heard their point really well. You should not give any points or recommendations that are astray to what they have said. And second, in terms of how you speak, you should say that, like hypothetically, if I was in your place, what I would have done is I would have said that you have made a good point, or I agree, or I understand. I understand is a very diplomatic way of saying that, okay, I've heard you. I understand what you're trying to say. But if we look at it in this way and you put forth your point, or disagreement, that is a very amicable way of disagreeing with someone in the group discussion. What this will actually ensure is that the person who you are disagreeing with will be very uh, happy. Okay, someone has spoken to me in a very decent manner, and I should not disagree with him. And second, the person who is grading you will be like, okay, this guy is a civilized chap. So this gives you brownie points in two ways. Don't disagree with them directly. Point out that you have understood what they're trying to say, and do ensure that you have heard it correctly. And uh, be polite. I understand what you're trying to say, but and structure it well. Tanka, can we have the second
Yeah,
question?
thank you, Vijay. I hope you found that useful. Next question is by Ritika. What type of certificates should we mention in the resume?
Okay, so in terms of the certificates that you need in the resume, uh, it should be relevant in terms of whatever certificates you have. I'm assuming by certificates you are meaning about the certifications and not co-curricular certificates. I'm just assuming over here because it's not very clear. So in terms of certifications, look, you need to do a certification that is complementary to what you want to do. Okay, let's just take an example like me. I am interested in marketing. Now, tomorrow, if I go and start to do certification in finance, great. It's going to give an all round profile to me in the CV, but it should be relevant. And I go for a marketing job interview. The interview is not going to really care about what finance certifications I have done. You need to figure out what you want to do in life, career wise, initially, and you need to go for those certifications. Try to get it done from notable ones like I guess in marketing there's Craftshala, Google Analytics. So these are the ones that I know about marketing. For finance, they are Flip, CFA, operations, they are Greenbelt, Six Sigma. So you need to know what you want to do in life, get certified in that domain itself, so that the interviewer gets more things to ask you about relevant to what you want to get into. I hope it answers your question.
Thank you, Tuhin. So, guys, please post your questions on the comment section. There aren't many questions here, but one was there by Gaurav, which was answered by Deep. Can you please, Deep, repeat that answer here? The question was, can you please describe the point to understand the tone and style of JD?
So hey guys, like I answered in the chat box. For those who haven't seen that question, like I will explain it once again. If you see the content of a JD, there will be some words which will be repeating again and again. See, if you find a word like team or innovation or something like that, which you can find it repeating again and again like everywhere, that means that the organization is more focused on like it's open and it supports supports team building. Okay, so that kind like it reflects the nature and the culture of the organization. So the other point will be if they like the people should give respect or people should have this kind of discipline on something and all, it means that the organization is more mechanistic. So we can say the it's more decentralized organization. So it follows a strict hierarchy. Okay, so that way we can take. So these are some keywords which you have to see it in your JD in order to understand the nature and culture of the organization. That's what I meant to share. Thank you, Zanka. Like, is there anything else?
Thank you, Deep. Vaishnavi is asking what details one should give when interviewer says, "Tell me something about yourself." Maybe Aniket
Okay,
would like to answer. Or Tuhin, yeah, please go on.
Aniket, should I go or will you answer the question?
What's the question?
The
What
question is all
details
about
what details
like
one
what.
should give when interviewer says, "Tell me something about yourself."
Okay, I think it's totally depend upon one thing I will say focus upon the job role which for which the company came for. Okay, so like talking about there is a sales company. So what you can show that I'm a person who have done a lot of initiative. I'm a person who came forward to help other. I'm a person who's spoken to the particular problem or but if I'm a if company came for the financial part, then focus upon the quantitative ability you have. You can talk about that. I have a capability of doing play with numbers. I have a capability to dish the data to find out the solution. So I think it's a very subjective part. You must first set a base that these are the capability I have, then mold it on the basis of what company and what profile that company came for. To him, you want to add
Sure.
anything?
Yeah,
Sure, Ankesh, I
please.
would like to add something here. So, as Deep mentioned once, the power is storytelling. So, why don't we like make a flow like a story, right? So, when I started, say maybe say don't start with once upon a time or something. Yeah, it will make it boring. just make a flow like I have been really interested in talking to people or making connections for since my childhood, and I have these many friends. I have done this, I've done this. If it's a sales role, right? Show them that you're vocal, you're open, you're extrovert. So that type of story you need to like introducing yourself. They have your CV, they know everything about you. You need to tell them what is not there in your CV, right? So what have you done which is relevant to them? Sure, you can add to it if you want.
Yeah, bingo. Like Rishabh, the last point that you just said about, the person who's going to ask you this question already has a CV in front of them, or already has your CV in front of them, and hopefully has gone through it. So if you just go by repeating that, okay, I studied in 10th and I scored 82% or 90%, whatever, they already know about it. So like, and they'll feel that, okay, this guy knows that I've got through the CV, and he or she is still going to the same thing. Like, it's a repetitive, and it will not show you in a light which might show you as smart. So, as Rishabh just said, that you need to speak something that is not there in your CV, and it should not be some random information that, okay, let's just take an example. In your CV, it's not written that, okay, uh, that you're from Delhi. So you cannot go ahead and say, okay, I'm from Delhi. Speak something more about Delhi. Make it a story that, it should be a punch, so that it should be a hook, so that the interviewer gets an additional point to speak to you during your course of the interview. Make it as unique as you can and as fun as you can, so that both of you guys have a good time and you get a favorable result.
And one more thing, like if you know, like everybody, like if there are 100 applicants, like they will say, my name is Ankesh, my name is this, my name is that, and this introduction is the icebreaker. Okay, you got that first question to show yourself, that show them that you are different from others. So it's a eye-catching part. So very be very serious about that part. I want to say.
Thank you, guys. Next question is by Kaushal Soni. Does the certificates that we get from online courses like Coursera or Udemy impact while resume selection? Deep, can you please answer the question?
So the certificates which you get from online courses, to see the, I will give my opinion. Okay, to some extent it doesn't matter. For me it doesn't matter, because if I am the interviewer, I'm not going to see that, because I know like we can skip through these things and we have some answers available in that. So I know how we complete those courses. Okay, even that's not a great learning, but I'll be considering to some extent. But the more like the highest importance I'll be giving is the your direct connection with the organization. If you have done some internship or if you have done some live project, that will be more worthy to me than this thing, because that's like real practical work which you will be doing. Okay, so you will be learning about the company, you will be doing stuff practically, and you know how the organization works. That's more relevant than sitting and doing the online courses. Yeah, to some extent, like there are people who really learn a lot, but it's a take. But the importance I will be giving is to your live projects and internship. That's what I would say. So, guys, try to get some do live projects as much as you can. You will learn a lot. Trust me.
Okay, Deep, just adding on to your point, the certifications that you just said, I do agree. Guys, you need to look at it in this way, that for a Coursera, Udemy, how much money are you actually spending? Even though Coursera cost like 2,000, 3,000 rupees. I don't know, I saw it way back in the past. But it's more like how easily accessible it is to you. So if a lot of people can see this, can do this, what's so special about it? And if every Tom, Dick, and Harry is doing it, the weightage that it might have in your resume, it reduces. But that's my opinion.
I want to add one thing that look, if you don't if you don't have any project in your hand, okay, if you don't have any practical experience, so one thing certification do is that this show that this candidate is inclined toward this field. So if I have a 3 4 certificate rather than a blank space on the resume, it will be better, that person will know that that candidate is inclined toward the marketing, that person is inclined toward the finance, but it won't be that much helpful. And second, it's a general rule, harder to get the particular certificate and reputation of that certificate is much. So talking about the Coursera and Udemy, it is pretty easy to get. Like they are the certification company, right? They want that people get certification. They are earning money from that. Okay, so it is easy to go for any prestigious certification rather than a simple, easy to get certification.
All right, I hope that answers your question, guys. Next question is by Shivam Agarwal. How to tackle with strength and weakness questions? I would like
So I'll be taking this question. The thing is, when it comes to strength and weakness question, we should see what kind of company we are applying. I'll be covering strength. So if you are applying for a sales job, so when you mention your strength as like coding or some other thing, it's not kind of relevant. But if you mention some skills, strength as like I'm a good communicator, I'm a good listener, that actually matters more. So you should be judicious enough to like what kind of strengths you want to add to what kind of job role you are applying for. Like it should be matching. It shouldn't be haphazard. Okay, you should plan and you should see like what kind of strength will be matching over here, and you should be telling that. Okay, see, if you have been asked in a sales interview, like, what is your strength? You should be telling, I'm a good communicator, I'm a good listener, I'm a good negotiator, that kind of strength. Okay. Don't mention, like, I'm a good coder, I can code a lot of stuff, and then all. That's not relevant. When it comes to weakness question, you can tell your weakness, but make your weakness sound like more, what do you want to say? Positive in sense like I'm a what do you say, I'm a great like I do get like I'm obsessive with certain things. See, I have like whenever I don't reach success, I try a lot, like I in that this thing I lose out myself, that kind of stuff. Like it shouldn't sound more negative, but at the same time it shouldn't sound, it should be sounding like somewhat positive. Like make your weakness sound as positive, because everyone has a weakness here, like no one is perfect. Okay, you should make sure that that weakness doesn't apply affect your job role whatever you're applying. Okay, so that's a great way of answering those questions. Okay, but because you can say like I get really like I don't let go of things very easily. Actually, that's a weakness. But you can, that's actually a positive thing if you see from other perspective. Like you'll be trying hard and hard until you reach that target. Okay, you should be like tweaking the things little bit. So in order to be more effective, that's the what I wanted to say. Sanka.
yes, thank you, Deep. Due to shortage of time, let's make this our last question. It's by Narit Biswas. Do position of responsibility in college matter while evaluating a fresher candidate? Tad, can you please answer that question?
Yeah, sure. So the PORs of a college level post. So it depends on the role which you have played in college. So say if you are a GS, a general secretary of a Rotary Club of your college, that actually holds a lot of value when compared to say a vice captain of one sport. So actually, when you take on certain roles, for example, a GS or a president of a club, it shows your willingness to take responsibility and also say bias for action, which are a few of the attributes which recruiters do look for in a candidate. Um, so answering your question, yes, they do matter, but it depends on the role and what responsibility you actually took. That's it, Zankar.
Thank you, Tad. And thank you everyone for joining us in this webinar today. I hope you found this webinar useful, and you can always ask the questions directly to our email address, and we will be concluding now. Thank you for joining us, guys.
Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks a lot for your time and support. Like, we'll be hosting such sessions in the future. Do support us.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.